Hello, my name is Mitch Bone, and I am the president of the Montana State University Billings Democrats and also a member of the Yellowstone County Democratic Central Committee. And I'm here with Attorney General candidate Raph Greybill.
How are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
Really good.
Good. So, how are you holding up with this COVID-19 lock in?
Well, it's been a ride. I mean, so my day job, I'm Governor Bullock's chief legal counsel, as you know, and what that's meant is my life has transitioned completely from trying to straddle an already busy job and campaigning to 100% focused on responding to the COVID crisis. And you see all these directives the governor puts out. That's me behind the keyboard typing those out. So I've been pretty busy the last month or so. It feels like a
Really
year.
have been.
I saw this. I saw this chart online. It was a chart of the epochs of time, and it was like Protozoan, Crustacean. I forget the name of the periods, but then it was like March 2020. That's how it's felt in my life. So I'm particularly happy to be here at an event titled "Cocktails with Candidates." Because it affords me a chance to have a nice beer here. And
why not,
the
right?
directive I'm most proud of, well, not really, but one of the most proud of is we liberalize alcohol delivery in Montana. So for this brief period of time, you can get good beer to your house.
There you go. I have seen that here in Billings. They've done that with our breweries and things. So I guess my first question for you tonight here is what inclined you to run for Attorney General?
Well, it grew out of a couple of things, and mostly it grew out of a series of long conversations with my boss, my mentor, my friend, Governor Bullock, who I have the privilege of working for. About 3.5 years ago, he called me up and said, I want you to be my attorney and represent me on behalf of Montana. And we've been really busy in that role and taken on a lot of cases. But, we both started to notice over time that this function of using the legal system to get results for Montanans, which was traditionally an attorney general's function, was something that Tim Fox simply wasn't doing. He was staying on the sidelines of a lot of really big cases. We sued Trump, for example, to keep dark money out of our elections. And that's a textbook case where Montana should lead. And we were doing nothing. And it was up to the governor's office and ultimately to me to do a lot of those cases. And what tipped me over the edge to say, this is something I think it's important to run for and to change the way we're going. We had a case against the Attorney General himself, where of all the issues, he decided he wanted to make public land access harder in Montana. And he wanted to do it in a way that also victimized property owners. I mean, a unique combination of unpopular positions that he took. And it was an experience of seeing that case, designing it, bringing it, implementing it, arguing it, and beating the Attorney General, that to me said, we certainly can do better in this job.
Awesome. And your work has obviously done great things for Montana and kept the Attorney General now from doing some not so good things for the state.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of your things that you've done as the state's attorney. What are some other significant things that you've done as Governor Bullock's attorney?
I'm really proud of, on a broad level, how the governor, he's a former attorney general himself, and he's got this mindset that I really respect where, the legislative process is important and we pay attention to that, we work in that. But Governor Bullock, I think, also understands how the court system and the legal system can on one hand be used against us, and it is all the time in all sorts of bad ways. But it can also be used to get results for us. And so we've gotten to really sort of outside this legislative process, which is always characterized by compromises, Republican majorities, been able to get really good outcomes. So protecting net neutrality in Montana, imagine if a for-profit company could come into not the Zoom conversation, but the internet connection that connects us now, and someone could pay them to say, well, Democratic Zoom calls should be slower than Republican Zoom calls, right? That would completely change the way the internet works, and it would be completely legal if Donald Trump got his way and net neutrality were gone. But in Montana, we took a stand. We said that was wrong, and we stopped it. And back to the Attorney General's role, it's issues like that where they may not be kind of the flashy cable news type issues, but they're issues that affect real people and how you actually live your life. That's where the Attorney Generals ought to stand up for you. And that's another case where, dozens of states sued the Trump administration to say this change is wrong. We did nothing in Montana, and it took the governor's office and our work to protect net neutrality.
Well, that's great that, again, Governor Bullock and yourself did that. I mean, net neutrality is important for Montana and for the country. So another question that I have here is, are there any things you wish you could have accomplished as or as Governor Bullock's attorney that you want to accomplish as the Attorney General? And you've kind of touched on that a little bit, but.
Yeah, the thing that I'm most, I'll put it this way. I have been very lucky in this campaign to get to travel the whole state and meet people all over. And time and again, no matter how old you are, how young you are, where you live, the number one issue on people's minds is healthcare. And it's having access to affordable healthcare. And particularly when it comes to prescription drugs or even just medical billing generally, having a shot at fair, predictable, affordable prescription drugs and insurance billing, right? And this is an issue where you wouldn't know it, but the Attorney General actually has a really outsized role in determining whether healthcare access is fair and particularly like how much you pay for prescriptions. And you wouldn't know it because our current Attorney General, whose job it would be to go out there and break up prescription drug cartels, for example, break up illegal price fixing schemes that make us pay more that we know are happening. He hasn't done any of that. He's been completely on the sidelines, or at best signed up for these multi-state cases where unless you're like the lead state, you're really not that involved, right? You're not really going to get the benefit of the case. That's the kind of issue where I'm really personally motivated by the idea of taking on big insurance companies, taking on big drug companies. And it's similar to what I did in private practice as a lawyer. We took on big banks. And that's something that really only the Attorney General is positioned to do in a litigation context. And I would relish the opportunity to go to court, design, implement, and fight in these cases to put money back in your pocket, right? Like, it's not rocket science. We know the various ways in which drug companies take our money, the ways in which insurance companies avoid paying our claims. But it's the Attorney General's job to do something about that, and we're totally silent right now.
Well, that's huge because so many Montanans live paycheck to paycheck, and when they get a big bill for an antibiotic or whatever, they choose not to take it because it's too much money for what they make.
I talked to without breaching medical privacy, I talked to a retired Montana politician recently who makes a decent amount of money, who splits pills in half because the prescription is so expensive in America. That's insane, right?
That is.
I met a woman in Havre, pretty common story, who told me that her daughter pays $2,400 a month for one of her 3 diabetes medications, right? Not some this isn't like a beauty treatment. This is a drug to be alive. And like, that's unjust, it's absurd, it's not reflected by economic reality, it's just price gouging, and we can do something about that. But I don't see Tim Fox down in the courthouse fighting for us.
Yeah, that is the one thing I can't understand. Diabetes, or the diabetic pills, insulin, I don't understand why it needs to be so expensive.
Well, the other issue like this that I've been thinking about a lot lately with the COVID-19 crisis is the price of vaccines as well. I think that anytime, so, you may know this, a lot of, or probably the lion's share of vaccine research in the United States, like the research going on now for coronavirus for a vaccine, is in part or in whole publicly funded. Like, you pay for it, I pay for it, okay? I think that anytime the public pays for vaccine research, we should on the back end always be able to expect that that vaccine is affordable, right? Like, no one should avoid a vaccine because they can't afford it. Particularly like life-saving vaccines like the corona vaccine, which we will eventually have. And anyone that's not behind a policy like that, it just isn't in touch with what's going on.
No, and I don't understand why we're like that as a society, that get to pick and choose things or live to live. Yeah.
And it's not, here's the thing. This is where a lot of Republicans get involved and say, oh, you can't get involved in that. It's the free market. No, it's the opposite. Like, I've worked in the legal system and I've seen the ways that big drug companies, big insurance companies, some healthcare providers use the legal system, use our laws to carve out protections for themselves and take from us. That's socialism. That's using government power to reward winners and losers, right? So if you're the free market person, you should be out here supporting us and Democrats in our efforts to make healthcare access more fair and more affordable.
Yeah, definitely. So another question that I have for you is, what are some other issues that in Montana that the Attorney General needs to protect?
Well, I think there's quite a few, and part of that stems from the fact that the Attorney General is the state's chief legal officer, and it covers a whole range of different issues. And when I think about this job, what's so special about it is not so much the narrow issue focus, right? Because a lot of AG candidates just talk about one slice of issues, right? But it's the approach, right? And the approach is using the legal system, using courts and litigation to either defend the state or go out and pick fights on behalf of the state. One issue I'm really interested in that I think we're doing nothing about is the issue of privacy, particularly digital privacy. This is something that's very near and dear to the hearts of Montanans and has been for a long time. I mean, as you know, our Constitution has an explicit right of privacy in our state. Mm-hmm. And it's the Wild West out there right now, right? Our privacy is completely owned wholesale by large corporations. We have very little control over it. And lots of other countries are dealing with this problem. The EU has one particular kind of approach, and California, I guess, is a country of sorts, has its own kind of approach to this. And I think Montana, with its constitution and with its express right of privacy through the Attorney General, could help sort some of these issues out. And I would really be excited to help Montana lead on this issue, because I think a lot of other states would have a lot to learn from our experience and from what our Constitution, I think, has to say about these modern quandaries around privacy.
That'd be great to have Montana in the lead for something. I would love that. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm actually originally from Great Falls. And
I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
I did not know that about you.
I don't know. I lived there for 11 years. And I know you're from Great Falls.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you, just kind of as a last question here, what is your favorite thing in Great Falls?
Oh, does it have to still exist, or can it be a vestige of the past?
It can be something that was there. That's fine. Yep.
Well, it'll come back to the present. I mean, growing up in Great Falls was great. I couldn't have asked for a better place to grow up, and anyone that trashes Great Falls is behind the times. So I will plant that flag and die on that ground.
Exactly.
Great Falls used to have this phenomenal burger restaurant called Burger Master, and I actually think the King's Hat in Billings is a derivative of the Burger Master.
It's close. It's close.
I can't prove it, but like the logo's similar, the menu's similar. And, in high school, growing up in Great Falls, you could go to Burger Master, which had this elaborate drive-through, which involved this big swirly ramp that was, about to fall down. And you could get a double bacon cheeseburger, a flying cheeseburger, and a Green River milkshake for like $3. It's hard to beat that.
Yep.
That was one of my many memories in Great Falls. And it's been really fun in this campaign, going back to the place I grew up and spending so much time there and getting to know people that growing up I didn't think of as politically involved, who in the time, 15, 20 years since have become so politically involved. I'm really proud a lot of my former teachers are supporting me in this campaign. Actually, just last week, we got endorsed by the Montana Federation of Public Employees, the union for teachers, public employees in Montana. And, I'll never forget from the day I announced, my old middle school principal came, my old middle school English teacher came, and they've really been activated by what's so wrong with politics, but they see an opportunity in our party in this cycle to do better. And I've seen that everywhere I've gone, but it's particularly special to see that in people that helped raise me.
That's awesome. And I know you guys, I only know a couple of politicians in Great Falls, but you have yourself, Casey, and Matt Raines that are really good there in Great Falls.
Last time Montana had a statewide official from Great Falls was Mike Greeley in 1988.
Wow.
Yeah, left office January 1989. So
that's way too long.
Yeah, for kind of like people in politics talk about Great Falls as kind of the Ohio of Montana. Like as a Democrat, you have to win Cascade County by a significant margin to win statewide. You have to hold the line in Yellowstone County. So you guys
Hmm.
are so important, and you have to knock it out of the park in Great Falls, and everything else kind of falls into place. Well, for that level of importance, it's kind of like where are the Great Falls statewide, right? And I
Right.
think we have a real chance this cycle. I mean, one of the sort of core tactical pitches for my campaign. I reflect progressive values. I think there's a lot of reasons to support me, but another reason is, hey, you got to win Great Falls, if you want to win statewide. So, yeah, it's important, and hopefully through getting Casey elected, getting me elected, we can have a couple more people from the Golden Triangle in office.
Great. So for those that are interested in your campaign, how can they get connected to you?
There are two good ways. One is rafegreybill.com. That's our website. It's got links to everything else we're doing. It's got a donate link. Donations, for better or for worse, they power campaigns, and ours is entirely grassroots funded. I'm really proud of that. The only candidate in this race to not take any money from corporate PACs or corporate linked PACs, and I'm really proud of that. It's going to stay that way. The other way to get in touch is facebook.com/Rafe4AG. That has the latest of everything we're up to, policy announcements, things I'm doing at work, things I'm doing in my personal life, lots of cute baby pictures of our little daughter, Genevieve. I would follow the Facebook page, Rafe4AG, or just type in Rafe Greybill for Attorney General. It'll come up. So if you can follow along, it means a lot to us, and we'll engage back.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Rafe, and have a great rest of your night.
All right. Thank you, Mitch. Take care.
You too.